The rain hammered the windows of the velvet rope like fists on a coffin lid, and I stood there under the club's pulsing strobe lights, feeling every drop seep into my soul. Faggot thinks he's a star. Some asshole in a too-tight polo shirt slurred from the bar, his buddies erupting in laughter that sliced through the bass-heavy remix of an old Whitney ballad. I froze, microphone slipping in my sweat-slick palm. The open mic night I'd poured my heart into crumbling into this nightmare. But then a tiny voice pierced the din, pure as a siren's call. "You're my hero, mister. Like the ones in my book who saved the rainbows." I'd come to New York 3 years ago with a duffel bag, a beat-up guitar, and dreams big enough to choke on. Brooklyn felt like the promised land back then. Cobblestone streets echoing with buskers, coffee shops where poets spilled their guts over oat milk lattes, and that electric hum of possibility that made you believe you could rewrite your own script. I was Julian Hayes, 28, a barista by day and a songwriter by the wreckage of night, chasing the ghost of my dead mom's lullabies. She used to sing me to sleep with tales of heroes who didn't need capes, just guts. "Be brave, Jules," she'd whisper, her voice fraying like old denim before the cancer took her. Dad? He bailed when I was 10, muttering something about not raising no queer kid, after he caught me staring too long at the neighbor boy. So I learned early, heroes get mocked first, loved later, if at all. That night at the Velvet Rope, a dive in Williamsburg with sticky floors and walls plastered in faded band posters, was supposed to be my shot. Open mic Tuesdays drew the artsy crowd. Tattooed millennials nursing IPAs, drag queens in fishnets holding court, a smattering of straight allies pretending they got it. I'd signed up on a whim, nerves jangling like my guitar strings, to debut Echoes in the Alley, a ballad about loving in the shadows. It was raw, too raw maybe, verses about stolen kisses in Central Park, the ache of hiding who you are from a world that'd rather you vanish. The MC, a wiry queen named Roxy with lashes like switchblades, had hyped me up. Next up, Julian Hayes, bringing the feels straight from the gut. I stepped onto the makeshift stage, a plywood platform ringed by fairy lights, and the room hushed for a beat. My voice cracked on the first chord, but I leaned in, letting the words bleed out. In the neon haze, your hand in mine, we dance on the edge of goodbye. Eyes closed, I lost myself, until the polo shirt prick slur hit like a gut punch. Laughter rippled, phones came out, filming my humiliation for TikTok eternity. Heat flooded my face. I wanted to bolt, to dissolve into the rain-slick alley outside. But that voice, that child's voice, yanked me back. She couldn't have been more than 6, all knobby knees and wild curls under a yellow raincoat hood, clutching a soggy drawing like a talisman. She'd wandered in with her dad, some hipster type in a beanie nursing a soda, probably dragged along for cultural exposure. The kid toddled right up to the stage, ignoring the chaos, and beamed up at me. "You sing like the heroes in my book. They fix the broken colors too." Her words hung there, simple as sunlight, and the room stopped. Polo shirt guy's laugh died in his throat. Roxy froze mid-sip. Even the bartender paused pouring. In that suspended breath, I knelt down, eye level with her innocence, and whispered, "What's your name, kiddo?" "Lila," she said, pressing the drawing into my hand. A crayon rainbow cape on a stick-figure man fighting storm clouds. I hugged her quick, the scent of wet sidewalk and grape gum clinging to her, and stood taller than I ever had. The applause that followed wasn't thunder. It was a murmur, a ripple of something human cracking through the cynicism. But as I stepped off stage, heart pounding, I caught a pair of eyes in the corner booth. Dark, steady, like they'd seen every fracture in me and stayed anyway. His name, I'd learn later, was Victor. Victor Reyes was the kind of guy who made New York feel small, like the skyline bent around him. 32, broad-shouldered with ink-black hair cropped military short, and eyes the color of aged whiskey, warm until they weren't. He worked as a firefighter out of Engine 28 in Bushwick, the station a stone's throw from my cramped walk-up. We met properly the next afternoon at the Daily Grind, my coffee-slinging gig on Bedford Avenue. I was elbow-deep in espresso foam when he slid onto a stool, that same gaze pinning me like a spotlight. "Saw you last night," he said, voice low and gravelly, like he'd inhaled too much smoke from too many blazes. "You didn't let 'em break you. Respect." I fumbled the steamer wand, scalding my thumb, but played it cool. Yeah? Most folks would have scrolled past the video by now. He chuckled, a sound that rumbled deep, and ordered a black coffee. Strong, no frills. We talked for an hour on his break, the shop emptying around us like it knew we needed the space. He grew up in the Bronx, son of Mexican immigrants who scrubbed floors to send him to college before he traded textbooks for turnout gear. Firefighting's in the blood, he said, flexing a scarred forearm absent-mindedly. But it don't fix what's burning inside. I confessed my own scars, the mom lost to chemo, the dad who ghosted, the endless grind of gigs that paid in claps, not cash. By closing time, he'd walked me home through the drizzle, our shoulders brushing accidental on purpose. Write me a song sometime, hero, he teased, lingering at my door with a grin that hooked something vital in my chest. That was the spark. Over the next weeks, Victor became my constant. A text at 3 a.m. after a rough shift, a six-pack shared on my fire escape watching the city breathe. He was out, unapologetic, but cautious. The FDNY was progressive on paper, but locker room jabs still landed like haymakers. Our first real date was at Coney Island, off-season ghosts haunting the boardwalk. We rode the cyclone till our stomachs ached, scarfed Nathan's dogs slathered in mustard, and when the sun dipped low, painting the Atlantic gold, he kissed me fierce, salt-tanged, like he'd been holding back a lifetime. Your trouble, Hayes, he murmured against my lips, but his hands said stay. Falling for him was like composing a symphony in a storm. Chaotic, beautiful, inevitable. We'd steal nights at his place in Bed-Stuy, a loft crammed with firefighting memorabilia, charred helmets on shelves, photos of his crew grinning like brothers. He'd cook carnitas from his abuela's recipe, the air thick with cumin and laughter, and I'd strum melodies on his old acoustic, weaving in lines about flames that didn't destroy. This one's for the guy who pulls people from the wreckage, I'd say, and he'd pull me close instead, our bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth by fate. But under the romance, shadows lurked. Victor carried ghosts, an ex from his academy days who'd outed him to the brass, costing him a promotion. A little sister back in the Bronx who'd OD'd on fentanyl last year, leaving him with survivor's guilt etched in every tense jawline. I saved strangers, he'd confess in the dark. But I couldn't save her. I'd hold him then, whispering that heroes bleed too, and for a while it felt like we were writing our own redemption arc. Yet New York has a way of turning love into a contact sport, and ours started drawing fouls. It began subtle. A raised eyebrow from one of Victor's crew at a bar crawl, a joke about my sissy songs that landed like shrapnel. I brushed it off. I'd built calluses thicker than guitar strings. But then came the club event, 6 months in, when the mockery escalated from whispers to wildfire. The Velvet Rope was hosting Heroes and Hearts, a fundraiser for LGBTQ plus youth shelters. Ironic, given my origin story there. Victor dragged me as his +1. His turnout jacket slung over my shoulders like armor. Show 'em we're unbreakable, he said, kissing my temple. The place thrummed. Rainbow flags draped from rafters, auction tables piled with signed memorabilia, a stage where off-duty first responders belted karaoke for bids. I spotted Lila from that first night, older now at 7, hawking cookies with her dad for the cause. She waved frantically, yelling, "Hero Julian!" and the crowd cooed. Victor squeezed my hand, pride swelling in his chest like a bellows. We were midway through bids on a signed Yankees jersey when Marco sauntered in, Victor's old academy rival, now a captain at a rival house, built like a brick wall with a smile sharper than broken glass. He clapped Victor on the back too hard, eyes sliding to me like oil. "Brought your pet project, Reyes? Heard he's got a voice like a siren. Drowns out the sirens." Laughter from his posse, a knot of off-duty cops and firefighters nursing whiskeys. Victor stiffened, but played it smooth. "Jealous, Marco? Julian's got more heart than your whole crew." I forced a grin, but the room tilted, echoes of that first slur amplifying. It boiled over during the talent portion. Roxy, ever the instigator, thrust the mic at me. "Give us a taste, hero." Heart slamming, I climbed the stage, Victor's gaze my anchor. I launched into Ashes and Ember, a new piece for him, lyrics about rising from ruins, hands that heal instead of harm. In the blaze of your touch, I find my fight, No more hiding in the smoke of the night. The crowd leaned in, Lila cheering loudest, but Marco's heckle shattered it. Save the fairy tales for Disney, princess. This ain't Broadway, it's boys' night. His crew howled, chants of go home, glitter boy, rippling like venom. Phones flashed, capturing my flinch, the way my voice cracked on the bridge. Humiliation burned hotter than any alarm. I wanted to vanish, to prove them right by running. But Lila, God, that kid, bolted from her table, dodging legs and elbows, her rainbow tutu a blur. She clambered onto the stage, wrapping tiny arms around my waist. Don't listen, hero. They don't know about the dragons you slay. The room gasped, then silenced, Marco's smirk curdling as the MC killed the mics. Victor surged forward, scooping her gently aside while glaring daggers at the hecklers. Enough, he growled, voice carrying like a siren's wail over the water. This is for the kids who need heroes, not assholes who mock 'em. The crowd shifted, some applauding, others slinking out ashamed. Marco muttered something about lightening up, but Victor's stare pinned him like a suspect. That night, as we walked home through sheets of rain, Victor pulled me into an alley alcove, kissing me fierce under a flickering street lamp. You're my hero, Jules. Don't you forget. But in his eyes, I saw the fracture. Loyalty tested, the cost of us mounting. The betrayal came swift as a backdraft, 2 months later, on a sweltering July 4th. Victor's crew was hosting a barbecue at the station. Grills smoking with ribs, kids chasing foam fingers, the American flag snapping lazy in the heat. I was nervous. It'd be my first deep dive into his world, post-incident. They'll love you, he promised, but his grip on the wheel was white-knuckled. Engine 28's lot buzzed. Wives in sundresses, husbands swapping war stories, a playlist of Springsteen blasting from speakers. I stuck close, charming the aunties with tales of my songs, even got a toddler giggling with a silly face. Marco was there, of course, holding court by the cooler, but he kept his distance until the beer flowed loose. It started as banter. Victor's buddy Luis ribbing him about going soft since me. Reyes, you used to outdrink us all. Now you're writing poetry. Laughter, light at first, but Marco piled on. Yeah, blame the boyfriend. Nothing kills the fire like a little romance. Victor laughed it off, arms slung around my shoulders, but I felt the tension coil. Then, during cornhole, Marco sidled up, breath sour with Bud Light. You know why Vic's slumming it with you, right? Pity fuck after his sister's mess. Thinks saving a stray makes him saintly. The words landed like a sucker punch. I shoved him, hard, and the yard went still. Victor stormed over, hauling Marco up by the collar. Say it again, Kebron. I dare you. Fists flew. Victor's hooking Marco's jaw, blood spraying like fireworks. The crew pulled them apart, shouts echoing, and in the chaos, I overheard Luis hissing to another. Told Vic to dump the drama months ago. This shit'll tank his lieutenant shot. We left in silence, the holiday pops mocking us from afar. At my place, Victor paced like a caged wolf, ice pack blooming purple on his knuckles. It's nothing, Jules. Just noise. But I pressed. Was Marco right? Am I? Pity? He stopped, face crumpling. No. God, no. You're everything. We made love then. Slow, desperate, reaffirming. But Dawn brought the text from an unknown number. A screenshot of Victor's crew chat. Marco's words immortalized. Reyes is whipped. Tell the brass his head's not in the game. Too busy playing house with the fag. Betrayal cold and calculated. Victor swore he hadn't started it, but the damage festered. Promotion stalled. Whispers followed him on calls. Our nights turned jagged, arguments over trust, silences thicker than fog. Fight for us? I begged one night, tears hot on my cheeks. He cupped my face, broken. I am. But what if I lose everything? The romance we'd built teetered, a high-wire act in a hurricane. Autumn stripped the city bare, leaves clotting gutters like unspoken regrets, and our love became a battlefield of what-ifs. I threw myself into music, booking gigs at queer cafes in the village, pouring the pain into anthems that drew crowds, songs like Fractured Flame, where betrayal twisted into triumph. You lit the match, but I won't burn out. In the ashes, I rise without you. Victor retreated to shifts that stretched eternal, coming home hollow-eyed, smelling of diesel and defeat. We'd collide in the quiet hours, him collapsing onto the couch, me curling against him, whispering forgiveness neither fully felt. But the rift widened. Marco's poison seeped, turning allies to skeptics. A call to the chief, anonymous, questioning Victor's distractions. He confided in me one blizzard night, snow muffling the world outside. They want me gone, Jules. Say I'm a liability. I held him as sobs racked his frame, the unbreakable firefighter unraveling in my arms. Then we fight together, I said, but doubt gnawed. Had I become the spark that ignited his downfall? The climax crashed on New Year's Eve, the city a frenzy of champagne toasts and auld lang syne. The velvet rope was packed for its annual Midnight Miracles bash, fireworks visible through frost-laced windows, a sea of sequins and hope. Victor and I had sworn to reclaim it. No drama, just us, dancing till dawn. He'd pulled strings for a private booth, roses wilting slightly in the chill, and as the countdown loomed, he dropped to one knee. Not with a ring, but a lyric sheet, my own words scrawled in his blocky hand. Marry me, not with papers, but with this. Let's burn bright, no matter the cost. Tears blurred the ink. I nodded, crashing into his kiss as the ball dropped, cheers erupting like salvation. But fate, that cruel curator, had other scripts. Marco burst in mid-toast, drunk and belligerent, crew in tow like hyenas. Happy fucking New Year, lovebirds, he bellowed, shoving through dancers. The room tensed. Roxy signaled security, but he was on us fast, jabbing a finger at Victor. You think this fairy tale lasts? I sent the tape to the chief, your little stage sob story, him dragging you down. My blood iced. The video from the hero's night, twisted into ammunition. Victor lunged, but I stepped between, voice steady. Enough, Marco. Heroes don't need fists, they need truth. Lila, there again with her family, piped up from the bar. Yeah, Mr. Julian's a hero, not you. The crowd murmured, phones forgotten. As Marco sneered, kid don't know shit. Vic's done, demoted tomorrow. Chaos ignited. Shouts, shoves, Victor hauling Marco out into the snow-whipped street. I followed, heart in my throat, the club door slamming like judgment. Under sodium lamps, fists met again. Victor's rage a torrent, Marco's landing a wild haymaker that split his lip. Sirens wailed distant, ironic, as they grappled in the slush. Why? Victor roared, pinning him. Why poison everything? Marco spat blood, laughing bitter. Because you were my brother once, and you chose him over us. Over the job. The admission hung, raw as exposed wire. Betrayal not just malice, but fractured brotherhood. Envy curdling into sabotage. Security swarmed, cops cuffing Marco for the night. Victor slumping against a hydrant, face a mask of crimson and regret. I knelt in the puddle, cleaning him with my scarf, whispering, it's over, we won. But his eyes, those whiskey depths, clouded. No, Jules. I chose wrong. The department, they called today. Probation or I walk. For us. The weight crushed. Our love, once a beacon, now the blaze consuming him. Don't, I begged. But he stood distant. I need space to fix this. He walked into the night, taillights swallowing him, leaving me shattered on the curb, fireworks mocking from afar. The aftermath was a slow hemorrhage. Victor transferred to a desk job upstate. Temporary, he said, but calls dwindled to texts, then echoes. I busied with a residency at a Soho lounge, echoes going viral after a patron's clip. Lila's hero moment remixed into a movement, donations flooding the shelters. Roxy became family, dragging me to brunches where we plotted comebacks over mimosas. But grief hollowed me. I'd lost the man who saw my scars and sang along anyway. Spring bloomed cruel, cherry blossoms mocking the barren in my chest, until one rainy afternoon at the daily grind. Full circle. He appeared leaner, lines etched deeper. I'm sorry, he said, sliding onto that same stool. No uniform, just jeans and a hoodie, eyes stripped bare. I ran because I was scared. Of losing you, of not being enough. But the fire is not the job. It's us. He slid an envelope across. Resignation letter, and beneath, a demo tape. My lyrics, his guitar, a duet we'd never recorded. Come with me? Start fresh in the Bronx, near Familia. Teach music to kids like Lila. Be heroes together, off the grid. Tears pricked. Betrayal's sting faded against this vulnerability, the humanistic core of us, flawed and fierce. We didn't rush. Walks in Prospect Park, rebuilding brick by brick. Marco got community service, a forced apology that tasted like ash, but Victor forgave. Not for him, but for peace. Our wedding was small, a rooftop affair in Bed-Stuy under July stars. Lila as flower girl scattering rainbow petals. Vows exchanged with rings etched in embers. From ashes we rise. No capes needed. Just two men, hands clasped, facing whatever blaze came next. New York roared on, indifferent, but in our quiet corner, we'd silence the mockers. Not with fists, but with a love that endured, humanistic in its mess, romantic in its grip. And every night, as Victor's snores rumbled soft, I'd whisper to the dark, heroes get mocked, sure, but they get the last word.